Hello everybody, welcome to another edition of this month's Creative Corner, brought to you by Ipsos. So my name is Shaun Dix. I lead creative excellence globally, so that has everything to do with advertising. And with me today are two very special people. I'll start with ladies first, and Gillian and I go back all the way back many years to Cape Town, so it's a pleasure to have you here, Gillian, so maybe you can do a short intro.
Hi, Shaun. Yeah, we do go back a long while. It's great to be here. Thanks for the invitation. I am working the brand health tracking service line, and I'm global head of offer and innovation in the team there. So thanks for having me.
Wonderful. Awesome. Thanks, Joel. And Adam, of course. Adam, we've had you here before. We work very closely together, but Adam, over to you, sir.
Thanks very much, Shaun. Nice to be back. And yeah, I head up products and innovation for creative excellence.
Yeah, so we've got a very thanks, Adam and Jill. We've got a very interesting topic for today, and this is what we found in the area of understanding the effects of advertising and how this affects your business results. It's becoming increasingly difficult to achieve results in markets, and the effects with advertising can be, or creative can be, an unfair advantage for your brands, and we know that, but it's a very complex topic, and we know it's very difficult to get right. And what Ipsos is trying to do is we're trying to find the latest scientific understanding of how people really process information and make decisions, and we're doing this together with academic institutes, and you guys will talk a little bit about that today. But one of the big questions we had was around the accepted view of System 1 and System 2. Is this really a reality, or is something really else going on in the market? And so that's why we thought we would share this really with you today. And what we want to do is share our point of view on how you as advertisers or marketers can improve your chances to really get to better business results. So Gillian, without further ado, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Shaun. So you're right, the prevailing narrative around decision making, as you mentioned, has been System 1, System 2. And really that's explained through System 1 being fast and intuitive, and System 2 being described as deliberative slow, but two distinct binary systems. Now, our Ipsos Global Science Organization, with academics from the Sorbonne in Paris and Temple University in Philadelphia, published a paper last year and presented it at SMR, where they introduced the dynamic decision-making model. Now, the paper explains that when people are faced with a decision, we adapt and engage more automatic and more deliberative processes, and that it's a continuum of more mindful, deliberative, and more mindless automatic processing rather than two systems. And that depending on the context and the need for action, we adapt our decision making along this mindful, mindless continuum. So with people's decision making being adaptive, if this is the case, this means that when context changes, so can people's decisions. And I think we all have first-hand experience of changing context right now with the pandemic. So decision-making is more complex than just two systems. It's a continuum of both deliberative and automatic processing. And it's a more people-centered, holistic understanding of decision-making that we're talking about here. Now, for brands, which is really my area, this is really quite something, because if you think about it, brands and their communications both create the context and can be present in a given context. So in this, there's an opportunity for brands to influence choice through interventions. And there are three overall ways that we identified in the paper, Dancing with Duality, Achieving Brand Growth in a Mindful and Mindless World. And to intervene, there are really three overall ways: reinforce, disrupt, and justify. Now, reinforce, this is about interventions that reinforce automatic decision-making. Disrupt is more about getting people to be a bit more deliberative, to pause, to stop for even a second and reflect on the decision that they're making. And justify is about giving people justification in support of the decision that they're wanting to make. So these are three quite simple but very powerful ways for brands to improve their chances to achieve those business effects that you spoke about. Now, my area is brands. I'm not sure how that resonates with your area of expertise. I don't know, Adam, if you want to jump in.
Very happy to do so, Gillian, and thanks for that great overview of the model and the great things we've learned along the way with those academic institutes. Because if we apply them to the measurement of advertising effectiveness, I think it has really two implications that we actively now represent in what we do. The first is, what do we measure? The industry has, I think, really gone in one of two directions of measuring cognitive responses, more deliberative responses, or measuring emotional responses. And it's somewhat of a false dichotomy in our view, in that if we are on that mindful to mindless spectrum, and you as a brand, depending on the context, need to adapt your creative strategy to either end of that spectrum, it stands to reason that you should measure across the full spectrum. And that's why we have our framework of thoughts, feelings and emotions in our measurement, in our solutions such as Creative Spark, where we measure the more deliberative thoughts and the encoded memories of creative, the immediate emotional responses, as well as the residual feelings that are left with people after seeing the creative. And the second thing I think we've really taken from this model is to the point you raised earlier about the context in which brands find themselves and how we focus on some metrics in some situations more than others based on that context. And I'll pick up on reinforcement and conflict. If we think about reinforcement, it really, from what we see in a lot of the clients we work with, that it's the leading brands, the market leaders, that really benefit from reinforcement, reinforcing those automatic behaviors by making people either feel good about the brand that they're already using, or just to really maintain that saliency with the use of different creative devices such as distinctive brand assets. And conflict, if you're more of a challenger, you really need to jolt people out of those automatic behaviors and thinking, and as you've said, make them pause and think, could this be an option for me? And if we think about examples of campaigns, I could think of no better example of a conflict campaign in recent memory than Burger King's Moldy Whopper. It's one of my favourites in general. Yeah. But if you haven't seen the ads, you'll be playing on screen now, of course. But the idea of having rotting food of your hero product in your ad in food advertising is, let's say, not a regular thing, and certainly not reinforcing existing behaviours. It's really getting people to think again and to take away a message that Burger King wants to get across around healthy ingredients, natural ingredients, and the memory encoding and the brand attention of that particular campaign was very strong as a result of that creative strategy of conflict.
It's a great example, Adam, and one that's been hotly debated, certainly within our circles, but in the industry. Take one of another example, which I think is a fantastic example of reinforcement as a leader in the industry, and I can think of no better brand than Volvo. Anybody who mentions the word Volvo, and Gillian, as a brand expert, you'll know that means safety. It equals safety. I mean, a family driving a Volvo means your family is definitely safe. But I think the latest ad that they just released, called Family Safety Hero, is a great expression of exactly that. They use parents. So the idea is about parents and their journey of looking after their family and their kids, and their dedication to balancing full-time work. Even now in the pandemic, as you mentioned earlier, Gillian, it's a little bit more challenging, I would say, today, being at home. But managing that as well as the family themselves makes them very tiring and weary, and how this car plays an integral role in creating a safety net around the parents and the family. And it's a great idea. And the way that it's expressed in that story is just, if you have to take care of your kids and your family 24/7, the Volvo XC60 takes care of your family and your safety the same way, with all the different features. And it's a simple, single-minded story, really expressed well. And so I thought that was a great example, just to show how reinforcement can then bring up those strong perceptions we have, and history or heritage of that brand that is so burnt into people's minds. So I think it's been a great discussion, and I think just to sum up, what I've learned from this, Gillian and Adam, is that there is no magic formula in the end, and perhaps the latest evidence that we've spoken about, and there's plenty of papers you'll be able to read about on this, that shows actually that the traditional System 1 and System 2 model is probably oversimplified, and that these modes of thought or thinking actually, as you explained, Gillian, dance together as a sequence and a continuum. And I think that has obviously implications for advertisers and marketers. I'm sure you'll agree.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, the world is ready for new thinking, and we certainly, I think it is probably challenging to hear that it's a bit more complex than System 1, System 2, but we certainly not the only people talking about it. There is development in behavioral and neuroscience that is going on in support of that. But for brands, it's really exciting. It really is exciting, and it presents so many opportunities for them to do amazing things.
So Adam, what's the advice? Thanks, Joel. What's the advice you would give, one line, to advertiser or marketer today after hearing this?
I think, well, you've said it somewhat, Shaun. Yeah, there is no magic formula, but perhaps just take inspiration from some of the things you've heard today. If you're not the market leader, there is value in risky, divergent creative. And indeed, if you even are the market leader and you've got strong, distinctive brand assets and brand cues, you can really take confidence to leverage them. And we've got separate papers and points of view on that as well. So I think it's actually breaking free of that oversimplified model, and you've said it, Gillian, is just such a great opportunity, both for brand management overall, but I would say also for marketing and what we can do to really get people engaged with brands and for business value to capture market share.
Fantastic. So that's been a great conversation this morning in our edition of Creative Corner. I'd like to thank both of you. Adam, always a pleasure, but of course, Gillian, having you in this Creative Corner is very, very special for lots of different reasons we already mentioned. But I'm sure the folks out there who've listened to this today may have questions or may be interested in knowing more. Our message to you is reach out to your Ipsos teams. We'd be happy to engage with you in a discussion in this area, and we believe it's, as you both mentioned, a super exciting and interesting space to be in right now. So thank you both for being here. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Cheers.